There is a peculiar silence that precedes certain exorcisms. It's not the absence of sound the possessed may be screaming, contorting, blaspheming. It's something else. It's as if the air becomes denser, as if something waits, contained, for the exact moment when a name will be pronounced. Mary. Father Gabriele Amorth spent 3 decades as the official exorcist of Rome, over 60,000 cases. And if there's one thing that runs through his writings like a conducting thread, it's this. The reaction to the invocation of Our Lady didn't follow a human psychological pattern. It was disproportionately violent, not because the possessed had Marian traumas, not because there was a negative personal association with the maternal figure, but because something beyond them, something that temporarily inhabited them, manifested an aversion that bordered on ontological collapse. Amorth recorded, "I saw resistances that lasted hours when I commanded in the name of Christ. But when we invoked Our Lady not commanding, just asking for her intercession, the resistance became chaotic, desperate." What does this reveal? Before we proceed, a necessary warning. The demon is a liar by nature. Christ himself identifies him as the father of lies in John 8:44. Everything that comes from his mouth, even under the exorcist's command, must be received with extreme caution. The Roman ritual allows the exorcist to interrogate the evil spirit only for practical purposes, to identify how many there are, when they entered, by what means, not to receive catechesis, never to extract reliable theological truths. And yet, there is something that crosses decades of reports from different exorcists on separate continents. When forced to speak about Mary, demons manifest a specific type of fury. It's not strategy. It doesn't seem to be calculated manipulation. It's visceral. Father José Antonio Fortea, Spanish theologian and exorcist, proposes a reading. Even the demon's lie destroys itself before certain realities. He can lie about many things, but he can't pretend that Mary doesn't humiliate him. Humiliate, crucial verb. In the 3rd century, Origen of Alexandria wrote about spiritual combat. He already intuited something that modern exorcists would witness empirically. The demonic hatred of Mary is not only because of Christ, it's because of her very nature. Mary is a creature, like the angels, like us. She has no divinity of her own, possesses no attributes that make her superior to angels by essence. And yet, by free choice, by humble consent, she was elevated above all celestial hierarchies. This is unbearable for those who chose, "I will not serve," because what defeats pride is not being overcome by someone superior. That's inevitable. What destroys pride is being surpassed by one you considered inferior. And Mary, in the eyes of angelic logic, should be inferior. Body, limitation, time, potential death. But she said yes, and that yes raised her above the celestial thrones. St. John Vianney, the curé of Ars, faced nightly harassments for years. He called the agent of these attacks Le Grappin, the claw, furniture thrown, mysterious fire in the mattress straw, voices screaming his name. Vianney was not possessed. It was spiritual persecution, a different phenomenon, but equally real. In his diary, preserved in the archives of Ars, there is an entry from October 1824. "Today, I consecrated the parish to the Heart of Mary. I didn't perform an elaborate ceremony. I just said, alone in the empty church, that everything here belonged to her." Since then, absolute silence. There was no command. There was no specific clerical authority, only surrender. And the persecution ceased. Vianney noted later, "I understood that the demon doesn't fear our authority as much as he fears her presence, because before her, he is forced to recognize his own evil choice." The theological question here is delicate and needs to be well calibrated. Mary has no power of her own. All her spiritual influence derives from Christ and leads to Christ. The Second Vatican Council, in Lumen Gentium, makes this crystal clear. Mary's maternal function in relation to men does not obscure or diminish in any way the unique mediation of Christ, but manifests its efficacy. So why is this efficacy so feared? Because God chose to associate her in a singular way with Christ's victory. Not out of divine necessity, God doesn't need Mary, but out of salvific pedagogy. He wanted a creature to participate actively, by free will, in the defeat of evil, and he chose a woman. Genesis 3:15. I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and hers. She will strike your head, and you will strike her heel. The Church Fathers read this as proto-gospel, the first promise of redemption. And in that promise, a woman crushes the serpent, not alone through the Son, but truly with the Son. Father Candido Amantini, who trained Gabrielle Amorth, used to teach something that seems simple but is profound. Pray the Rosary before each exorcism, not as a magic formula but as interior preparation. Amorth followed this advice for 30 years and documented that exorcisms preceded by genuinely prayed rosaries tended to be shorter, less violent. Why? Because the rosary is not a devotional technique. It's meditation on the mysteries of Christ through Mary's eyes. It's placing yourself where she was, at the Annunciation, in Bethlehem, at Calvary, at the resurrection. And by meditating this way, the exorcist doesn't just invoke a name. He invokes a real presence, a living intercession. The demon perceives this. Not with eyes, he doesn't see Mary physically, but through the change in the spiritual environment. Something shifts when she is invoked with authentic faith. There is a verifiable report in the archives of the Diocese of Milan from an exorcism performed in 1987. The possessed was a 40-year-old man, a university professor, a declared atheist before possession. The exorcist, Father Angelo Maffais, tried for weeks without significant progress, until, on impulse, he placed a scapular of Our Lady of Mount Carmel on the man's chest. The reaction was immediate and violent. There were no physical burns, this needs to be said clearly, because sensationalism does not serve truth. But there were convulsions, vomiting, screams. When the crisis passed and the man momentarily regained consciousness, he said something that Maffais noted. Something protected me. I felt that something held me from within, preventing me from breaking. This something he would only identify months later, now freed, as Mary's maternal presence. Sacramentals don't work magically. They are not amulets. They are signs that dispose the soul to God's grace, and God sovereignly acts through them when there is faith. Now we enter denser territory. Why Mary, specifically, and not just Christ? The answer is in John 19:26-27. Jesus, from the height of the cross, says to John, "Behold your mother." And since then, all disciples receive her. It's not optional devotion. It's Christ's testamentary disposition. He gave us Mary as mother, not biologically, but spiritually. And mothers have a characteristic. They don't give up. Even when children are lost, even when they choose badly, even when they drift away, the mother continues there, waiting, interceding, protecting from a distance. The demon knows this and hates it because he chose an irrevocable path, the angelic fall. According to great theologians like St. Thomas Aquinas, is irreversible, not because God is merciless, but because angelic nature, without body and time, makes absolute choices. Without process, without maturation, only final decision. But humans have time. They have bodies. They have process. And Mary intercedes within that process. She prays that each of us, until the last breath, has a chance to say yes. This drives hell mad. St. Catherine of Siena, doctor of the Church, had a mystical experience that she herself recorded with hesitation. She saw Mary interceding for a soul that seemed lost, and the maternal supplication was so intense that Catherine asked, in ecstasy, "But, Mother, this soul chose evil. Why do you persist?" The answer she heard, and here it's necessary to remember that private visions, even of saints, are not articles of faith, was, "Because while there is time, there is possibility." This theology of possibility is what destroys demonic certainty. He wants to convince us that we've already lost, that it's too late, that our fall is definitive. And Mary, silently, maternally, says, "Not yet." Father Gabriele Nani, exorcist of Florence, reported something worthy of attention. During a particularly difficult exorcism, he stopped commanding and began praying the Salve Regina in Latin. Salve Regina, Mater Misericordiae. The reaction wasn't of showy fury. It was of something that seemed like pain, low moans, muffled, crying. When the ritual ended hours later, the possessed, now freed, said that during the Salve Regina he felt that something inside him was crying, but it wasn't him. It was something else. And this crying wasn't from anger. It was from loss. Loss of what? Of the possibility that the demon refused and now sees reflected in Mary, the chance to have said yes. This is where the mystery deepens. Mary was preserved from original sin, from conception, by singular grace of God, in view of Christ's merits. This is dogma, the Immaculate Conception. She was not born in original sin, she was protected from it before she even existed, by unique privilege. But this doesn't mean she didn't have free will. It means she had free will fully capable of choosing well, without the disordered inclinations that original sin leaves in us. And yet, she still had to choose. The angel didn't force her. God didn't program her. She heard the impossible proposal, "You, a virgin, will bear the Son of God," and could have refused. But she said, "Let it be done to me according to your word." This fiat, this yes, is the second creation. If Eve's no closed paradise, Mary's yes opened heaven. And the demon, who said no to God before all time, now sees a temporal creature say yes, and with that be exalted above him. It's not just tactical defeat, it's ontological humiliation. St. Louis de Montfort wrote in the Treatise on True Devotion something that sounds almost warlike. God made only one enmity, but irreconcilable, between Mary and the demon, between the children of the Virgin and the children of the devil. Irreconcilable. There is no possible armistice. Where she is, he does not remain. But attention, this doesn't mean Mary has power parallel to God. It means God chose to associate her with his own victory over evil. By divine choice, not necessity. By pedagogy, not need. Because God wanted to show that even a creature, if she says yes, can participate in hell's defeat. And this gives us hope. The most experienced exorcists say something rarely said in public. Mary is present in all exorcisms, even when not explicitly invoked. Because she is mother of the Church, and the Church is always present where there is a fight for the soul of a baptized person. But when she is invoked consciously and devoutly, something changes. Not just in the spiritual environment, also in the exorcist's heart. Because remembering Mary is remembering that you don't fight alone, that there is a mother in heaven who knows Calvary's pain, who stood while the Son died, who didn't flee when everything seemed lost. And this memory strengthens. Before moving forward, a brief invitation. If this reflection is touching something in you, consider subscribing to this channel. It's not a commercial request. It's recognition that truths like these need to circulate, need to be repeated, deepened. And you, who have come this far, deserve to continue hearing what strengthens. Let's return to the core. What the demon truly reveals about Mary in exorcisms is not in the supposed dramatic speeches that circulate without sources. It's in the reaction, in the impossibility of remaining when she is invoked with faith. Father Amorth died in 2016. In his final months, already very ill, he told a confrere, "If I had to summarize 60,000 exorcisms in one sentence, it would be this: Mary wins. Always, because where she is, Christ is, and where Christ is, hell does not remain." Simple as that. It's not esotericism, it's not superstition, it's theology, incarnated in pastoral experience. There is one last point that needs to be said, because it's frequently misunderstood. Mary does not replace Christ. She is not an alternative path. She is not plan B for those afraid to go directly to God. She is the safest path, because it's the path that Christ himself chose, to come into the world through her. If God chose to be born of Mary, why would I hesitate to reach God through her? Not out of theological necessity, I can go directly to Christ, but out of spiritual wisdom, she leads me to him with maternal security. And the demon knows this. That's why he tries with all his forces to distance people from Marian devotion. He whispers that it's idolatry, that it's unnecessary, that it's deviation. But it's a lie. Because Jesus himself from the height of the cross gave us Mary, and what Christ gives, the demon wants to steal. So, what did the devil really say about Our Lady in Exorcisms? He didn't say it with trustworthy words, because he is a liar. But he said it with his reaction, with the collapse, with desperate flight. He said that she wins, that her intercession is feared, that her yes continues echoing through the centuries, undoing every no from hell. That the Rosary, prayed with faith, is real spiritual weaponry. That consecrating yourself to her is placing yourself under protection that evil cannot break. And he said, unwillingly, the greatest truth: that a creature who said yes to God is more powerful than all the angels who said no. Because power is not in being strong, it's in consenting to the strength. And Mary consented perfectly. You who hear this now, stand before the same choice. I'm not talking about exorcisms. I'm talking about daily combat, about small temptations that added together destroy, about apparently insignificant choices that, repeated, shape destinies. And in this silent combat, Mary is at your side, not with magical power, but with real maternal intercession. You just need to say yes. You just need to ask, "Mary, I am yours. Lead me to your Son." And hell, which already knows the weight of that yes, will tremble, because it knows what that yes produces. It knew it in Mary, and it cannot bear to see it repeated in you. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen.